Testing, testing.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Cool. Let's go.
Whew, what a week it's been.
Truly. I'm Alex.
And I'm Emily, and we're What a Week.
You want it, we got it. We're bringing you news by zillennials for zillennials.
Let's dive right in. Okay, so this week we're following up on the David Dobrik story that we brought to you about 2 weeks ago. This story has kind of just been unraveling since we first brought it up, and so we thought it was extremely important to kind of follow up on it. So to recap, in case you didn't watch our last episode, which we will also link above here, but to recap, Insider published an investigation into an allegation of sexual assault against a former member of David's vlog squad, Dirt Dom. The woman who is anonymous in the article says that she was too intoxicated to give consent to Dom, and there's a video of the incident that night that was posted a few days after on David's channel titled, "She Shouldn't Have Played with Fire." So like I said before, the video was published a few days after the incident and got about 5 million views on David's YouTube channel and was later taken down at her request. I mean, it was taken down, which is great, but it still happened and it still got 5 million views, which is very unfortunate to say the least. So when the allegations came out, David released a video titled "Let's Talk" that was about 2 minutes long, and it was posted on his podcast, on his Views podcast YouTube channel. And in the video, David apologized for content he published in the past and also explained why he doesn't talk to certain members or doesn't really feature certain people in his vlogs anymore.
That being said, consent is something that's super important to me. Whether I'm shooting with a friend or shooting with a stranger, I always make sure that whatever the video I'm putting out, I have the approval from that person. And I also acknowledge that there's times where a person can change their mind and they decide that they no longer want to be associated, they no longer want to be in the video that I'm putting up, and then I'll take the video down. And there's also been moments where I've looked back on videos and I realize that these don't represent me anymore and they're hurtful to other people, and I don't want them up because I've grown, as a content creator and as a person, and I don't agree with some of the videos I've posted. With the Seth situation, I'm sorry to Seth because like I said, I just want to make videos where everybody in it, whether you're participating or watching, is enjoying and having a good time. And I missed the mark with that one. And I'm really sorry. I truly am. And with people in my life that I don't film with anymore, like Dom and, the other people that I no longer film with, I chose to distance myself because I don't align with some of the actions, and I don't stand for any kind of misconduct, and I've been really disappointed by some of my friends, and for that reason I've separated from a lot of them.
So David got a lot of hate for how brief the video was. I mean, we talked about this in our last video, but it sounded very PR, very scripted. It didn't sound very genuine, and it was very, I guess, lack of better words, to the point.
Right.
And these are very serious allegations. So I think people in his community, fans, or just the public in general, wanted a more genuine, heartfelt apology, and I feel like they didn't really get that the first go around. So days later, David Dobrik posted another YouTube video on his actual David Dobrik YouTube page. And in the video, he says he realizes how bad his previous video was and apologized again to the woman who says she was sexually assaulted by Dom at a party. And he also talks about what he wants to do moving forward.
I've put myself in a lot of situations where I've needed to apologize for my past actions, and I've never done this correctly, and I've never done this respectfully, and my last video is a testament to that. I don't want to defend that video. I don't want to delete that video. I just want to be clear. What this video isn't going to be is it's not going to be me discrediting Trisha, Kat, or any other woman involved. I'm going to be using words that may trigger some survivors, and that's just so I don't explain anything vaguely, and I can explain every situation appropriately. I want to start this video off by saying I fully believe the woman who came out against Dom and said she was assaulted by him. As was reported, the next day I got consent to post the video. Even though I got the consent to post that video, I should have never posted it. And what I understand now, and I didn't understand before, is that she sent that text because she felt like she had to, not because she wanted to. And that's fucked up. And I'm sorry. When she later reached out a couple months later to take the video down, I immediately took it down. And I want to apologize to her and her friends for ever putting them in an environment that I enabled that made them feel like their safety and values were compromised. I'm so sorry. I was completely disconnected from the fact that when people were invited to film videos with us, especially videos that relied on shock for views or whatever it was, that I was creating an unfair power dynamic. I did not know this before. It was completely wrong, and I wish I was more responsible, and I wish I was more aware at the time, and I'm so sorry I missed that. Not only did I discredit you, Allie, but I platformed Dom. And not only did I platform Dom, but I platformed the subject of sex in a negative way where I made jokes about it, and I reinforced that kind of behavior. And I'm so sorry, and I really let not only you down, but a lot of people down, a lot of people that watch me and my friends and family for that.
In his second apology video, David also said he is taking a break from social media and is working to put a system in place to allow people to speak up when they're feeling uncomfortable with what is going on.
At all. And I think when there is a crisis, there's a serious opportunity to correct yourself, to learn and improve, and to make sure those mistakes don't happen again. And that's why it is so important to hold yourself accountable. And I think with this situation, there's a lot I can look at and there's a lot I can learn from, but there's a lot of mistakes that I made, and I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for everybody I've let down. I'm sorry to my family, and I'm sorry to my friends that I've embarrassed, and that this won't happen again. I'm gonna take a short break from all the social media stuff because I realize there's a serious lack of infrastructure when I make any kind of content. And I wanna be able to have a place of checks and balances. I wanna have HR, and I wanna be able to have people communicate discomfort in a way that's comfortable to them, and where they don't feel like their emotions or what they're doing or how they're acting is compromised.
It's also important to note that another former Vlog Squad member, Seth, has also come out and said that David did not have consent for a prank where Jason Nash kissed him in the mouth. David addressed this and, said that he apologized to Seth in his first apology video, and another Vlog Squad member said that Seth had previously given consent, and they have text messages to prove it. But I think it's important to note that you can give consent and take it back. And David says that he has removed those videos, which at least that's the least he could do, right? But I think it's important that I think consent is very serious and it should be taken very seriously. And you also have to think about the big picture of just the situation that Seth or anyone could have been in. I mean, when you're in a situation where you could give consent because you feel pressured, because you don't want to seem like the downer, you could be like, yeah, I guess like I feel uncomfortable, but I'm going to get so much clout. But then that's still, it's like, he's not really not giving consent, like it's like it really needs to come from like you actually wanting to do something, not because you're feeling pressured or because the situation's weird. I'm not saying that he was pressured to do it, but it's just like a hypothetical situation, right? So since all of these allegations came out around David Dobrik's videos, his digital empire has pretty much come crumbling down, to be quite honest with you. Several brands, including SeatGeek, DoorDash, EA Sports, have cut ties with him. He stepped down from the board of Dispo, which is an app he just launched about a month ago. That's basically a disposable camera. You take pictures and the pictures it's like a disposable camera type of thing, so you don't see the pictures right away. You see them like at 9 a.m. the following day. And also, YouTube demonetized all 3 of his YouTube channels. David Dobrik 2, and his Views YouTube channel. They demonetized them for violating their creator responsibility policy. So, I mean, David's pretty much has lost everything, and a lot of brands have cut not only their deals with him, but with other people in the vlog squad. I think almost everyone associated with that video, with Dirt Dom and the girl, has apologized or come out with some sort of statement. There's a lot to unpack here, but first I want to ask you, Alex. So David has apologized twice now. What now? Like, what can the YouTube community learn from this situation?
You know what? It's interesting. So I've been following it really closely, and I'm not saying I support these people in any way, but I've been listening to Trisha Paytas and Ethan Klein's podcast, Frenemies, kind of where they break down everything that's happened. They spoke to different people. And it's just one of those, it's just like, this is the problem, I think, with YouTube culture, and we'll get into it later too, because we're going to be talking about another YouTuber, James Charles. But I think, I mean, even Trisha Paytas too, like all these people are able to create whatever they want, and they're able to sensationalize things because they're doing it for views. It's not like I mean, I guess any entertainment entity, you could say the same, but it's like they have full creative control. Like they're doing what they are doing for the views. And I think, I mean,
There's
even
not
thinking
necessarily an HR team either.
right, exactly. And I even think about like the situation with Seth, and how you were talking about the consent, and it's like they were talking about in the Frenemies podcast how Seth had actually asked them originally, hey, can you take this down? And they said, David was like, well, wait, how much can I pay you to keep it up? And it's like, well, that's not consent. Like, that's literally not it. And so I think the thing is, and then David's first apology video, that was the short one, the let's talk, and he disabled the comments, by the way. Like, it's just like that he did that short apology, and then he lost all these sponsors, and now he did the longer apology where he like cried on the floor and like did that typical YouTuber apology. And I think it's frustrating because he's very reactive rather than being proactive. I mean, first of all, he put this awful content out there, but instead of like deleting it before and deleting it when Seth first said he was uncomfortable and all this stuff, he's keeping it up until it like negatively affects him and until he has to take action. And I think that's the problem, right? I think it's silly to say no one's allowed to make mistakes. I think people can, but it's like clearly he's not learning it from it. He's only learning from it because there's this reaction towards it. So I think that's really what's frustrating to see. And while I do think his second apology, the longer one, was by apology standards a good apology, it also did not address the Seth situation. It only addressed the Hannah situation with Dirty Dom, and it didn't really address like the other friends, because then we're seeing other people part of the vlog squad come out about different allegations. I mean, he didn't really apologize to Trisha Paytas and kind of what he did to her, which was she ended up being in a 5150 hold and because of like what was happening in a drug overdose. And like it was just like, it's a whole, like, it's just, and there's other friends who have come out like about other things they've had to do. I mean, someone like Tana was like repeatedly kind of told like sexual innuendos from Jason Nash, and like different, there's just, so it seems like almost everyone has some sort of story. And I don't know, it's like gross. It's gross because David Dobrik like was doing this whole like non-bullying platform, like the tour he was doing or whatever, and he was promoting like non-bullying. But it's so ironic. It's like, well, this is your whole brand and it's been this way the whole time. And like even like the thing is, like, David Dobrik knew I'm like going in circles and all over the place, but Dirty Dom, like, he literally talked about how there's another video clip of him talking to, I forget who, someone in the vlog squad or someone else maybe, and he was saying like, oh, did you like hook up with Dirty Dom or whatever? And she's like, well, yeah, the alcohol, like I did because of the alcohol, like that's the only reason why I consented. And it's like he talks about in another video how like no one really consents to like having sex with dirty Dom. And it's like, so you knew this whole time and yet you still, it's just,
Yeah.
it's like sick. It's like gross in so many ways.
Yeah. I feel like you brought up a lot of great points, and I kind of want to expand and talk about a couple of them. I think, first of all, when all these allegations came out, I wasn't surprised they came out, but I was surprised it took so long for them to come out, because I think David's YouTube channel has evolved and changed a lot throughout the years. And I do think it's changed for the better the past like year that he was doing his vlogs, or year and a half or something. He stopped doing as much of those crazy partying pranks and focused more on like giving back, or like science experiments, or like celebrity, like other stuff. His earlier vlogs, though, up until like a year and a half or 2 years ago, though, were very problematic. And I remember when I first started like hearing about David Dobrik and like watching his vlogs, I was like, how are these kids getting away with doing some of this stuff? Like you said, there were a lot of times where they made fun of Jonah, because they make fun of Jonah because he's fat. It's like an ongoing joke, and like even if you're in on it, like it's still rude. And the Dom stuff, like you're totally right. There are videos of Dom was saying like, yeah, it's because she was drunk, like she hooked up with me, or like just like making excuses, and it's like that's not okay and that shouldn't be accepted. And I think David and his crew, uh, they created an atmosphere where they had authority, whether they believed it or saw themselves as having authority or not. That's what it is. Like, David became this huge kind of, I don't know if pioneer is the right word, but he really did shape YouTube. His content was so successful, other YouTubers tried to replicate it, and everybody wanted to work with him at some point. Like, he had power. And so I think at the end of the day, when you have power and you have an environment where you're partying all the time, or you're letting things slide, that's not acceptable. Because then when you have somebody new coming in and stepping into that environment, they're going to feel pressure to perform, or to do something crazy to make it into the vlog, or for the clickbait or something, or they're going to feel like they don't want to be a Debbie Downer and say no, and just, or sometimes things get out of control, and then next thing you know, you get sexually assaulted, and you're like, what the hell just happened? I'm in a video now, what I didn't consent to. And so I think, it's unacceptable that he created an environment where everyone involved in the vlogs created an environment where something like this was going to go down. I think I think YouTube creators need to learn that there's kids that are watching your content, kids that are like 10, 13 years old, that are watching Dirty Dom and thinking that's acceptable, and that's not acceptable. And there's people who are survivors of rape and sexual assault watching this, and it could be triggering to them. And I think moving forward, the YouTube community needs to learn that they need to be held accountable for their actions, and that they can't just do everything for the clickbait, you know? And hopefully they learn, because I think David for a while seemed untouchable. Clearly he's not. He's lost a lot. My kind of last point before we pivot to our next topic, which has something to do as well with the YouTube community. What do you think will happen to David Dobrik? Do you think he's going to be canceled? Because I think we both kind of have mentioned how we don't really think cancel culture exists. I do think it's good that he said he wants to create like an HR department, or put a system in place where like it's kind of like a buffer or somewhere, so that people feel comfortable speaking out. I think that's a good first step. I think obviously it should have been in place a really long time ago. And at the end of the day, I think it's up to the people, the victims of this, to accept David's apology. I think when people come out with apology videos or any statements, like, no one's going to be happy with what they say. People are always going to tear it apart and say he could have done this better. I mean, the first one he could have done better. The second one was better. But I think at the end of the day, it's really up to the victims to accept his apology, and it's up to society to hold them accountable, and hold them accountable to them saying they're going to grow, so that this doesn't happen again. I do think David will come back in like 2 or 3 years. I don't think he's going to be able to come back for a while, but I don't think he'll be able to come back unless he really changes, like a drastic change, and it's like genuine, because I think people are going to see if it's bullshit.
Definitely.
What do you think?
And you know what? I like that point you said, that like the people who need to accept the apologies are or not need, the people who like the apologies are for are the victims. I think oftentimes, and we talk about this and you mentioned this, cancel culture really doesn't exist. It doesn't. Like people don't get people truly do not get canceled. Like there's no one that has done a horrible action and genuinely been completely deplatformed. Like everyone has been able to come back thus far. But yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's completely uncancelable. And I think the thing is about apologies is that people are accepting them even though it's not their apology to accept. So he's still going to constantly have this fan base that no matter what he does, they're going to be there for him. I mean, listen, and we talk about this too. I don't think anyone, it doesn't exist, but I don't think anyone should be truly canceled. Like I don't think it exists, and I don't think it should exist. I think accountability should exist. And the thing is with David Dobrik is he's literally, yeah, he's built this platform. And his platform was built off doing actions like this and off bullying and off putting people in horrible unconsenting situations. And I don't think he should be able to have monetized his business and become this name in the way he has due to the fact that everything he has is because of those actions he's taken. So I completely think his platform needs to be taken away, at least for a bit. I do think he'll be able to come back, and I think he will come back. I don't know what that'll look like, but like you said, his content has been changing in the past year and a half, 2 years. And I think he'll be able to come back, and I hope it's in a responsible way, and I hope it's in a way that continues to address these things, and I hope it's in a way that makes the victims feel comfortable too.
100%. But to that, we're going to pivot on to our next YouTube world story.
Yes. So this one involves James Charles, who is he 21? I didn't even write that down. I believe he's a 21-year-old beauty YouTuber. And he's kind of been around since he went viral when he was like 16 on Twitter for his, or not 16. It was when he was graduating from high school for his makeup. And then.
Yeah, he was very young.
Yeah. And then from
he is
there.
21. I just fact checked that.
Yes, 21. And then he's kind of built his platform, his YouTube platform from there. And to be honest with you, I was like trying to remember when I first heard of James Charles. I think I've always kind of known, but he really, really got in like the limelight in 2019 when Tati called him out, who's another YouTuber. Because this is when he got on my radar. I just want to address, so right now I'm going to be addressing kind of sexual harassment and grooming and underage kind of interactions, but I do want to say James Charles does have different also racist and transphobic remarks he's made. We're kind of going to focus on the sexual harassment aspect of it all, but I just want to say like he has other controversy as well that we will not be addressing on this. And that's something like he was the cover girl and they didn't cut ties with him after a racist remark he made. So he's like been kind of uncancelable for quite a bit. But it all kind of started in 2019.
And he makes a joke out of it too.
Yeah, it's not great. It's kind of like, which we'll get into it, but in 2019, Tati made a video. It was all this drama. You have to look it up. It was this whole thing. If you weren't around during when that happened, it's a lot. But I'm not even like a huge like YouTube person, and I was like following it like a hawk because it was a lot. But basically, part of the video, we learned about James Charles that there was this guy, Gage Gomez, who said that James Charles pressured him into sexual situations. But Gage Gomez was like, well, I didn't consent. Like, I told James Charles that I was not sexually attracted to men and that I didn't want to do this. And James Charles still kind of pressured him. So that was kind of the first thing we heard about James Charles kind of sexual harassment and acting on that. So then this year is kind of where it all started to go, like, it got really bad. So then January 2021, he defended the Lopez brothers after their allegations of grooming underage boys. Then in February 2021, so last month, a 16-year-old said that James Charles groomed him and pressured him to send sexual photos on Snapchat. After this, James Charles made a post on Twitter saying he didn't know the boy's age, and then he just continued on posting like as if literally nothing happened, which is just, I mean, he literally did a Twitter post and like didn't address it otherwise, which everyone's kind of saying, well, it said his age in his bio, so like how did he not know? So there was a lot of like questions surrounding that. So then after that happened, in the same month, in February, 3 more people came forward about their experiences with harassment with James Charles. And this included a 17-year-old boy who said that James Charles continued interacting with him even after he knew that the boy was 17. So then after all this happened and all these people came forward, James Charles was fired from hosting Instant Influencers, which is a YouTube competition show, but he was still kind of able to continue everything else. Like Chipotle, for example, was still sponsoring James Charles. So like nothing, besides that hosting gig, nothing really changed. So then just this week, a 15-year-old, came forward on TikTok, and he had like the screenshots and the receipts and everything. And it kind of was like James Charles like interacting with him, and then the boy put on his Snapchat story like the interactions. And then he said after he did that, James Charles had blocked him and accused him of lying about his age, even though the boy said that James Charles had always been aware of his age. And like he literally had the full receipts, like that he was interacting with James Charles, like the messages he was getting. And that was this week. So we're really not seeing yet what the repercussions are going to be, how James Charles is going to address this.
Hey everyone, it's Emily. I quickly wanted to come on here and say that about a day after Alex and I filmed the episode, and as I was editing, James Charles actually did come out and post a video on his YouTube channel where he addresses all of the allegations against him. And so I want to play a quick part of that video for you so you can see what he has to say about all the allegations.
In case anybody isn't aware of what's going on, within the past couple of weeks, 2 different people, both under the age of 18, have recently come forward saying that they had inappropriate messages with me on social media. One of them being from last year and one of them being from more recent. In both of these cases, I added these people on Snapchat, asked how old they were right away, was told that they were 18, believed them, engaged in a flirty conversation, and then later on found out that they were actually 16. Upon finding out, I was immediately embarrassed and blocked both people. Later on, when I saw them making videos about it and those videos going viral, my immediate reaction, completely honestly, was to be really, really upset. I wanted to get on camera and film another No More Lies video where I gather all my receipts and all my screenshots and try to tell my side of the story and then just move on from the situation. And now, looking back, that was so stupid, because as I did more research on these topics and self-reflected, I realized that the receipts and the screenshots and the specific details of the interaction really don't matter, because I fucked up. And I needed to take accountability for my actions and, most importantly, apologize to the people that were affected by them. These conversations should have never happened, point blank period. There's no excuse for it, there's no ifs, ands, or buts, and I take full responsibility for that. I trusted the information that was given to me rather than the information I could have and should have gotten myself. In both of these situations, doing research into these people's public social media profiles would have revealed their true ages, and therefore these conversations would have never happened in the first place, but I didn't do the research, and that is what is so embarrassing. As an adult, it is my job and my responsibility to verify who I'm talking to, and therefore there is no one to blame for this other than myself. To the guys involved with this situation, I want to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I added you, I'm sorry that I flirted with you, and I'm really sorry if I ever made you uncomfortable. It is completely unacceptable. I was being reckless, and after looking back and finally realizing that this was my own fault, I started doing a lot of thinking and reflecting to really try and figure out why I was actually allowing myself to be so reckless in the first place. In all other areas of my life, my friends, my business, I like to think of myself as pretty put together and on top of things, and I couldn't understand why relationships were the one outlier. Why were they not working? Why was this area of me so different? And I finally came to a conclusion. It sucks, and it is ridiculously embarrassing to admit this, but I think I have to, and that is that I'm desperate. I do understand that with these videos coming to light, it's really it's really looking, period, like I'm actively searching for younger people to be in a relationship with, and I just want to say firsthand that that is absolutely not the case. My hope has always been to be in a relationship with somebody around my age or older that I can relate to and that can make me laugh. And unfortunately, I've not been able to find that person yet, but the idea of actually being in a relationship became so important to me that I was willing to trust too quickly, miss out on red flags, and most importantly, not take the precautionary measures that really anybody, but especially somebody with a public platform, should be taking before talking to anybody. And there's no excuse for that.
What are your thoughts?
To be quite honest with you, I'm sick of James Charles having this platform when he clearly does not learn.
Right.
And I mean, I haven't watched, I mean, I'll like once in a while kind of dabble in James Charles, but like, like he says like, oh, I've done so many apology videos, like I've been canceled so many times, and it's like, like you have to do apologies because you do bad shit. Like, sorry, like, and it's because you're not learning, and it's kind of frustrating. It's like the saying, like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, or something like that. It's like, okay, one time you could maybe get away with something, even though this is never acceptable. Like, talking to anybody underage, especially when you know about it, is disgusting and should not be acceptable. But it's like, okay, you're accused of it once, and then you say you're going to change, and then it looks like you're changing. Okay, good, you learned. Good. But then things happen and things come back like month after month, and then you're still saying the same thing, like, I didn't know, they lied, like, I'm gonna block you. Like, it's just like, no, clearly you're like, something's up. Like, there's no way all these people are coming out of the woodwork and to make up these lies about you when these people probably don't even know each other. The only connection they have to each other is you being creepy. And I'm kind of just frustrated. I think James Charles got so famous so quickly, and he's so young, and he moved to LA without his parents, and like, I just feel like when you don't have parents or adult figures to kind of help guide you when your life changes drastically, it's like it gives you this free reign to do whatever you want and to feel like you're untouchable, and he's not untouchable. And he's been doing stuff that's inappropriate and disgusting for a very long time. It's just frustrating. I'm just frustrated. This is like continuing to be a story that pops up. It's like, didn't we talk about this last week? Like, why weren't you facing repercussions last week about this?
No, definitely. And I think, I mean, his like statement after the first 16-year-old came, or after the 16-year-old came forward in February, was very much like, oh, well, he lied to me, like I didn't know, blah blah blah, all this stuff. And it's just like, you have a responsibility as this person. You're in a position of power. I mean, he's someone who's making so much money online, and he's a content creator, and he has a platform, and he has the responsibility to first of all, I don't even think people should be heavily interacting with their fans like that when they're in a position of power. Like, it's a weird power dynamic that clearly is not,
Dynamic.
and it's not a good dynamic. And we even think about with David Dobrik, and those were kind of random women that had come to the apartment, and that they were giving alcohol for that threesome with Dirty Dom. And it's like, I think there needs to be a responsibility on these people, on these content creators, to not do these things and not put their fans into vulnerable positions, because it's straight up grooming. It really is, for the 16-year-old. Even if he lied about his age, let's just say he did, James Charles put him in a position that he was like, oh, his idol's reaching out to him, like he wants to keep talking to him. He doesn't know better, he's 16. And
Yeah.
I think, let's just say
100%.
yeah, and then let's just say every single young person that James Charles has interacted with, let's just say they all lied about their age, just for argument's sake. Why is James Charles repeatedly reaching out to people who look so young? It's a weird, inappropriate, horrible pattern that should not keep happening. It shouldn't. And it's just a, I mean,
100%. Yeah, 100%.
what do you think about kind of people in this position of power? Like, how do you think these dynamics of interacting with their fans should go? Do you think YouTube or something should come up with guidelines or anything? Like, how can this be prevented?
I think that's a great question, and I think you brought up a really great point about like how like James Charles should fucking know better. Like, excuse my language or whatever, but it's just kind of frustrating that it's like, you're just stupid for reaching out to people that look so young, because you can tell when someone's a minor. Like, they look like children. Like, they're babies. Like, they're still young. Like, they're teenagers, you know? Like, you can tell. And it's like, the fact that you're willing to lose your entire career by repeatedly reaching out to kids to people that look so young, it's like you don't care. You don't care, and you are grooming them. I think it would be a little difficult for YouTube to create. I think they should have more of guidelines for this. I mean, I don't really know, to be honest, if they do or do not, but I think it is also difficult because a lot of the things that James Charles or that people can do could go on Snapchat or Twitter or Instagram. Like, they're not all happening on YouTube. I don't even want to say a lot of them are happening on YouTube, because it's kind of obvious if you're reaching out to someone that's young on the YouTube comments. So I feel like it's hard for social platforms to monitor this, because also, like, you could lie on your Instagram page and say you're 16 when you're really like 13, even though you can totally tell the age difference by looking at a picture. I think it could be hard for them to regulate this. I just feel like, where's your moral compass? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's like
I
all I have
know,
to say
and
to
I
him. Like,
think
what the fuck?
right. And I think that, I mean, you brought up that point of like he just doesn't care, and I think that's the sad part. I think the fact that he thinks he's untouchable. Like, he's doing these actions because he doesn't think he will get canceled. He doesn't think he will be held accountable, and he doesn't think he will get caught. And that's the horrible, horrible, horrible part. And it's like part of me is just like, well, I don't know what James Charles has been through. I mean, he got involved very young.
Yeah.
He was friends when he was young with Jeffree Star and Tati and all these older people. So it's like, it's unfortunate that it seems to be this horrible cycle. Because now he's friends with Charlie, who's 16, Charlie D'Amelio, and it's like, what? Like, it's just a weird. It's like there's no like lines drawn, and there has to be, because this is so highly, highly, highly
100%.
inappropriate. And I mean, we'll see what repercussions that James Charles faces, but I genuinely hope that people are treating this the exact same way that they're treating David Dobrik, and I hope he loses sponsorships, and I hope he has to face accountability for what he's doing.
100% agree with you. And we're going to put resources if you are a victim of sexual harassment, sexual assault, rape. We're going to put some resources down in the description of this video, as well as in the description of the podcast, so you have resources available to you if this has happened to you. So just really be careful with your actions and what you do, and just don't be like, just think about like the effect that your actions can have on other people, you know?
Right. Definitely. I think so too. And call it out when you see it. If anyone sees
100%.
this, we can't be supporting these content creators that are creating this space for people to not be consenting and to be underage, and it's just horrible. We need to not support these people.
I guess on that note, we're going to pivot into a little bit lighter news, I would say. So, Good news of the week. Yes. Alex, why don't you start?
Yes, my good news of the week. So I was thinking about this before like the pandemic hit and before quarantine happened. I was like regularly working out, and I felt guilty because I never work out anymore. But then I was like, you know what? I forgot I broke my foot. Like, I had a whole broken bone. No wonder I like lost my stamina. So I've been trying to work out more, and I've been running like every other day so far. So I'm off to a great week and a great start.
That's amazing. I love that for you. I'm so happy for you. Are you running like outside at a park, by the lake, by your house, or?
Yeah, I'm running outside. It's a work in progress, but you know, it's moving. We're moving. We're getting things done.
Literally.
Yeah, we're literally moving. How about you? What's your good news?
So this week was really nice. It was hot in LA, and I was able to go to my best friend's house, and we went, like, we just like hung out, we like tanned by the pool, and it was just like really nice to just feel like, I don't know, I felt like summer, you know?
Yes.
And I started working out again as well. Like, I kind of I've had some health issues with my breathing and my allergies. Not serious health issues. I mean, I do need nose surgery, not a nose job. Just,
oh, really?
We'll get to that a different day.
Yes. That'll be a whole nother show.
Yeah, like quick recap. Like the past week, I had a lot of trouble breathing, which is one of the reasons we didn't have an episode last week, because I was just like I literally couldn't breathe. And so because of that, it's because of my allergies. My nose gets very congested, and therefore I have problems breathing. And that is why I haven't been able to work out as much, because I just literally can't breathe and I do too much cardio. But it's getting a lot better with medication and doctor's help. And so I started working out. I've worked out every day for the past 6 days, twice a day sometimes. So I'm starting to slowly get back in the rhythm.
Oh, yay. That's so good. And now time for y'all's good news of the week. How about you start, Emily?
So Jen Morrow says she successfully concluded her first week at her first job.
Congrats! That's so awesome. That's exciting.
I feel like so many people are getting like great job opportunities right now. It's very exciting.
Oh yeah, it's like the spring is here. Spring is sprung. Blooming season. Everyone is getting good opportunities. So if you're hearing this and you haven't gotten a new opportunity yet, it's coming for you. I promise.
Coming.
Like, it's coming. Claim it. It's yours. Okay, so the Fangirl Talk podcast said, I have 3 days off of work, which is so nice. We all need a little break, so I'm glad for you.
Love that. Olivia says she had the best virtual happy hour with her new team at work.
That's awesome.
That. See? More work news. This is great. Keep it coming.
It's happening. Trinity said, started talking to a new guy, and it's going super well. That's awesome. That's exciting.
Ooh, I'm excited for you. Wishing you luck. And Amy says she finally got to quit her job that she's been miserable at and is starting a new one that she's very excited for. And that's amazing. I'm so happy for you, Amy.
That's so nice. Yay! I'm glad you all had a good week.
Yes. And, as always, you can catch up on our episodes on our YouTube, which is What a Week with Alex and Emily. And if you want to go the extra mile and be a Patreon for us and donate because you just love us so much, you could be a Patreon as well.
And then you can find us on social media. We're on Instagram at What a Week Show, and we're on Twitter and TikTok at What a Week Show _.
Yep, so have a great week. Don't forget, we have a new book for our book club. I'm going to go get it really quick off camera. I have not started reading it yet, so
coming. I have not either, but you know what? Yeah, we will like it, hopefully. I read like 2 pages, and it's good so far.
I honestly just have been so busy, I haven't made the time for it, but I think I'm going to listen to it instead of read it, because at this point, this is not getting read in a week. but I'm going to listen to it.
Yes, and that'll be on April 6th, on Tuesday, the Tuesday coming up. Wait, I think. I don't know, I'm confused on the days.
Yeah, it's Tuesday.
I know, I'm like, I don't know what day it is, but Tuesday the 6th at 7 o'clock, so we'll see you there.
We'll see you there. All right, have a good rest of your week. Be kind to one another, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.